There are a total of 18 Mysticism spells in Morrowind. You can see them on screen right now. I will exclude 3 of these from the ranking. The reason? Well, Absorb skill can't be found anywhere without console commands. Absorb Magicka can only be found in scroll form, and the devs put Demoralize Humanoid in the wrong category by accident. It should be Illusion. Here in this video I will rank the remaining 15 spells from worst to best, according to my opinion. I will take into account how useful they are, how expensive they are to cast, how often you'll use them, and how cool they are. You may disagree with some of these placements. This is just my opinion. And like that, let's begin. Number 15 is Detect Animal. This spell had the potential to have good tactical use for characters who wanted to avoid combat, but there are several problems with it. Firstly, unlike Detect Life from Oblivion, it only shows the detected animals on the map. More importantly, it only detects creatures. NPCs are not included on the list of things that can be detected, which means there's a huge blind spot. This limits the usefulness of this spell. There is an option in the code patch that makes Detect Animal also detect NPCs, which would put this spell higher, but that's not how it works in vanilla. To be honest, I like all the other spells more. Number 14 is Detect Enchantment. This spell works just like Detect Animals, but it shows you enchanted items on the map instead. Since it may help you find some hidden items, I've put it slightly higher on the list. But its use is very limited. Most enchanted items will be carried by NPCs or are not that well hidden anyway, so I can't justify putting it higher. Number 13 is Detect Key. You may be seeing a theme here. I don't have a high opinion of these spells, but I am giving Detect Key the top spot among them because I have found it useful in the past. I remember one occasion when there was no slave key on any of the NPCs of a smuggler cave, and there were slaves. But there was a key hidden in plain sight in some very hard to see place. I've also found other such hidden keys. A key found on the wall of an ancestral tomb that opens a door just ahead, or a key that opens a locked chest in a different room. Usually such keys are not all that important, and most keys are carried by NPCs anyway, but this spell does have some uses. Number 12 is Soul Trap. This spell is absolutely essential if you want to fill soul gems, either for enchanting or to sell them, but it is in a low place because it only has this one single use. By the way, if you need Grand Soul Gems, Elbertner Mark in Mournhold Craftsman's Hall sells an unlimited amount of these. You are welcome. Number 11 is Absorb Attribute. This spell is potentially great as a combat support spell. It temporarily drains an enemy's attribute and it fortifies the same attribute for you. You could use Absorb Strength to make your character hit harder and to decrease your enemy's damage at the same time. Or you could use Absorb Agility to increase your hit chance at the expense of your enemies. A fairly underrated spell and a good alternative to using Fortify, but I like a lot of Mysticism spells more. Let's move on to number 10. Number 10 is Dispel. The spell is basically Finite Incantatem for Morrowind. It removes magical effects, whether positive or negative. It doesn't remove enchanted items, obviously. It doesn't remove permanent effects, like from birth signs or vampirism, and it doesn't heal the consequences of damage attribute or diseases, but it works on a lot of other stuff. If you get hit by a long duration trap, you can cancel it. Maybe you just cast a 60-second water walking spell and then you spot an underwater cave. You can also cast it on enemies to remove their buffs and their summons. Very useful. I feel like many people sleep on this spell. At number 9 I have placed Spell Absorption. I feel like this may be a controversial placement, or maybe not. But anyway, I will explain it. Having spell absorption is great on artifacts. Having passive damage negation is fantastic, but there's a problem. As a spell, it's horrendously expensive, even at low magnitude and short durations. Are you really going to waste 100 magicka before going into combat for a 10-second spell that might not even do anything? I mean, there is the chance of getting that magicka back, but I'm sorry, generally I just can't justify that to myself. Especially when I can just dodge. Number 8 is Reflect. If you have ever looked into a mirror, you will know why this spell is deadly. 7 years of misfortune, a broken self-esteem, and you now have to also pick the shards up. I love having some Reflect on a ring or on armor, but again you can just dodge the spells. And a high-level mage can often even just tank the damage, while in contrast a low-level mage that would find any damage negation to be very useful often can't even successfully cast the spell. I've put Reflect a bit higher because I like the idea of enemies hoisted by their own petard. Great, now number 7 is Absorb Fatigue. Yes, it sounds very lame for a spell at a higher spot than Reflect and Spell Absorption. It's relatively cheap and you are both making yourself temporarily better at combat and your enemy worse at it when you cast it. Assuming you didn't start the fight at 100% fatigue. And unlike with Absorb attribute, the transfer is permanent. What a deal! Number 6 is Telekinesis. The thief's best friend. You can steal while avoiding the eyes of the corrupt rich people. You can trigger trapped doors and chests from afar. You can pick up pearls while waterwalking, like a normal person. A great spell for property redistribution. As we approach number 5, let me tell you, I know what you did with those farm animals. It's disgusting. For shame, viewer. For shame! Number 5 is Divine Intervention. This spell can be very useful, especially in the eastern part of the land for getting to Sadrith Mora, or in Solstheim to get quickly to Fort Frostmoth. However, outside of those two places, the other intervention spell is objectively better, which is why I didn't put it higher. Number 4 is Mark. Mark allows you to designate the spot that you can later return to with Recall. I've thought about treating Mark and Recall as one spell, as either is useless without the other. I've put Mark just one spot lower because you use it less. You could theoretically just designate one single Mark at the start of the game in your base and then just never use Mark again. I myself use a mod called Melian's Teleport mod, which allows you to set up multiple marks. Even with just one, and combined with other forms of transportation in Morrowind, it's a fantastic teleportation spell. As you may have guessed, I put Recall at number 3. It's the yin to the yang. You use Recall to teleport back to where you left the mark. Great if you've picked up too much stuff and are over-encumbered. Also great in general for returning to your base. It's especially good if your chosen player home is a long way away from major cities. Getting to that place may be a pain without Mark and Recall. At number 2 is Absorb Health. A bit of a break from all the teleportation spells. It's a great spell. You heal yourself and you damage the enemy at the same time. Combat is a big part of any Elder Scrolls game, and this spell makes a mage focused purely on mysticism completely possible, especially since in vanilla, Absorb Health cannot be reflected, so you don't even run into the problem that destruction mages run into in the expansions. A reflected spell will just do nothing. Before I continue to number 1, let me praise you for getting this far. You overachiever, you. If you hear this, please write, I will never look at Quama X the same way, in the comment section. Just pause and write it down, along with your opinions. Or if you're tired of writing what I tell you to write, then tell me what you want to see in the next video. How about that? And number 1, Almsivi Intervention. If I had to get rid of all the Mysticism spells except one, I would probably keep this one. You might not have expected this spell to be so high, given that I've put Divine Intervention at merely number 5, but here it is. Casting this instantly puts you into one of the biggest towns in Morrowind, depending on where you were. Gnisis, Balmora, Aldrun, Vivec or Molagmar. This means that you are also now in the vicinity of other means of transportation, such as Silt Striders, and you can continue on to anywhere else in Morrowind. This spell also makes mark and recall better by its very existence. You can put a mark in your base that's in the middle of nowhere, like the Talvani stronghold or a random fuck-off cave in Sheogorath. And it's fine. Why? Because just one spell cast of Almsivi Intervention puts you right next to a transportation hub again. Don't get me wrong, I think I like all of Mysticism's spells, but this is a spell that I really wouldn't want to get rid of. So much convenience. And so I've covered all 15 spells. If you are curious about the 3 that I removed, here's a list of all 18. Initially, I put Absorb skill at number 17 and considered it a worse version of Absorb attribute, until I remembered that just 5 points of, for example, Long Blade, have the same effect on hit chance as 25 in agility, as long as you are using a Long Blade. Considering Morrowind combat was my previous video, that's quite an embarrassing oversight for me. The minimum level of skill you have as a player is 5, so assuming it works like that for NPCs as well, you can count on being able to absorb at least 5 of any skill. I'm not sure how this works with creatures though. So for now, I'd put it at least ahead of Absorb attribute, perhaps even higher, considering the spell cost is the same as for Absorb attribute, but the effect should be dramatically larger. Let's go with number 12 for now. The Moralized Humanoid is 14. I don't rate this very highly at all because I hate chasing fleeing enemies, but I recognize that in some circumstances, especially at higher difficulties, it could give you breathing room and save your character's life. But I can't justify putting it higher than Absorb Attribute or Dispel, both highly useful spells. Finally, I would have put Absorb Magicka at number 8, just below Absorb Fatigue. It's useful for and against mages as it transfers their mana to you. It would be especially useful as an enchantment, but it has somewhat less use for warrior characters, which is why it's lower. If you disagree with my objectively correct opinions, you can go cry about it in the comments section, as usual. And if you liked this video, please watch this other video, or the other video that YouTube thinks you will like. Thanks for watching.